If you've been on the internet for more than a few years, you've almost certainly heard of big rigs over-the-road racing. At the very least, you've probably encountered the "Your Winner" meme that it spawned. In case you've somehow never heard of this 2003 PC game that Walmart sold to the public in a literal pre-alpha state, there will be some links down in the description to fill you in. Because this video isn't actually about big rigs, but rather its slightly less deformed sibling. It has recently come to my attention that Stellarstone, the studio behind big rigs over-the-road racing, put out another game using the same engine, and not many people seem to know it exists. Today I'm doing my part to fix that. I present to you Midnight Race Club Supercharged. Now, from what I've been able to gather, Big Rigs and Midnight Race Club were originally intended to be a single game, featuring cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Due to tight deadlines and a non-existent budget, most of the content was cut and an unfinished build was shoved out onto store shelves to be sold as Big Rigs over-the-road racing. In the following year, the rest of the game was cobbled together and eventually released as Midnight Race Club Supercharged. Midnight Race Club was published by the fittingly named Game Mill, same as Big Rigs. I can't actually find any info on whether it was exclusively sold at Walmart the way Big Rigs was, but I have found pictures of a retail box, complete with ESRB rating, so I can confirm that it was at least sold somewhere in North America. I also want to point out this blurb on the back that claims this is the most realistic street racing game ever. We'll see about that. Alright, enough delays, let's take a look at the game. This main menu should look very familiar to anyone who's ever seen Big Rigs. They just switched out the title and background images. This menu actually looks pretty average for a budget PC game of the time, but something felt off about it. It took me a minute to realize, but there's no sound. There's no background music, no sound effects, nothing. This menu is dead silent, and it's honestly a little off-putting. Now, I should point out that I tried installing Big Rigs alongside this game as a point of comparison, and just by being on this menu, Midnight Race Club already has it beat. I could not for the life of me get Big Rigs over-the-road racing to run on my machine. It crashed to desktop every single time I tried to launch it. Alright, I need to stop and interrupt myself here. I went back to get more game footage after I finished recording the audio, and then Big Rigs magically decided to work. Not quite sure what was going on before, but apparently my computer just needed a restart to fix it. Anyway, on with the video. The lack of any effort or quality control starts to become apparent as soon as we leave the main menu. Going into the settings reveals a painfully small selection of graphics adjustments, and literally nothing else. If you wanted to change the control mappings, or set the resolution to something other than 640 by 480, then screw you, I guess, because you can't. Things only get worse when you go to actually start a race. You choose between cars, trucks, and motorcycles by clicking on one of these seemingly random, unlabeled images. Each category has 4 vehicles to choose from. I think I'll go with this Nissan 350Z for my first run. I'm sorry, the Tornado. Yeah, so the thing about the vehicles in this game is that they're all very clearly modeled after real-world cars and trucks, but with all the branding conspicuously absent and a generic name used instead of the real one. I'm not entirely sure what the legalities of this are, but I'm pretty sure it isn't above board. Otherwise, Wreckfest would have you destroying Mustangs and Camaros in all but name. Anyway, let's take our not 350Z out for a spin. These load times are insanely long. I'm loading this 300 megabyte game from an SSD, and it somehow takes almost 2 minutes to load a single level. So the game finally loads, and oh god, this is horrendous. I played Final Drive Nitro a couple videos ago, and I thought that was a strong contender for the worst racing game I'd ever played, but Midnight Race Club Supercharged is bad on a whole nother level. Just look at it. The lighting is terrible, the ground is clipping through the road, everything stutters and shakes when it moves, and there's a second pair of taillights floating 10 feet behind my car. The most realistic street racing game ever! The lighting in this game is so dark that it's actually kinda difficult to play at times. I've bumped up the exposure in post so you guys can actually see what's going on in this footage, but this is what it looks like normally. Controlling the car is awful in a way I can't adequately describe. It takes forever to accelerate up to top speed, and when you get there it feels like the car is just kinda coasting along the ground with no real weight behind it. But then turning is like dragging a ton of bricks across asphalt. You'll see me running straight into walls throughout this video, and I swear I'm trying to avoid them. The turning is just that unresponsive. That leads me nicely onto the topic of collision, which was infamously absent in the original release of Big Rigs over-the-road racing. While the vehicles here don't phase through bridges and buildings anymore, inertia seems to be a foreign concept in the Midnight Race Club universe. When you so much as nudge one of this game's massive hitboxes, your speed instantly drops to 0. Literally, you can watch it happen on the speedometer. The most realistic street racing game ever! Even bumping into your opponent, who is also moving, does the exact same thing. That's right, unlike in big rigs, your opponents can actually move here, albeit very slowly. It's still not possible to lose to them though. Instead of sitting at the starting line and never moving an inch, they now do one full lap and stop dead in their tracks just before the finish line, never actually crossing. The most realistic street racing game ever! Aside from the addition of collision and vehicle AI, the terrain physics have also been changed. Notice I didn't say improved. It's no longer possible to drive straight up slopes beyond a certain angle, which can lead to getting stuck in spots that weren't a problem in big rigs. Most notably this canyon by the bridge, which you used to just be able to power through, but now you can't get out of it without going in reverse. Why reverse? Well, that's because they didn't bother to fix the infinite reversing speed glitch, one of the most egregious and easiest to fix bugs from the original big rigs. The most realistic street racing game ever! Speaking of things from big rigs that were never fixed, this text still runs outside the HUD. They also never bothered to update the help and credits screens with new artwork. These are the exact same images from big rigs. The help screen one even says Big Rigs Over the Road Racing at the top. This is peak laziness. I haven't even mentioned the sound design, which is appropriately awful. There's no music, because of course there isn't, and the vehicle sound effects are probably the worst I've ever heard. Just listen to this engine. The only other sound effects in the entire game are for the handbrake and collisions. Both sound exactly the same every time, and are both way louder than the engine effect. Apparently even the most basic sound mixing wasn't in the budget for this game. Finally, let's talk about these green numbers that are always on screen. This is debug info. It actually kind of makes sense that this would be present in the original big rigs, because the version of the game that got shipped was an internal test build that was never meant to be released to the public. But this wasn't in big rigs. This was added sometime during the year of further development that Midnight Race Club got. This is 3 lines of code tops to generate this text, and it somehow got added, and then didn't get removed or commented out for what was supposedly a final build of the game. This is absolutely fascinating, and I'm actually kind of glad it's here, because it gives us a unique insight as to why the motion in this game is so jerky. These 3 numbers are the current XYZ coordinates of the player model. A closer inspection reveals that these coordinate values are all whole integers, meaning they're rational numbers with no fractions or decimal points. That last bit is key, because pretty much every 3D game engine ever uses floating point values for all spatial coordinates. That way objects are able to occupy any spatial position with an insane degree of accuracy, which allows for the appearance of smooth movement. Limiting spatial coordinates to whole integers forces everything to snap to an invisible grid, which results in this jerky, shaky movement, as the models abruptly snap between whole positions. This is most likely a limitation of the crappy game engine, but it could also be as simple as an underpaid Ukrainian programmer not wanting to change a few variable declarations from int to float. Given what I know about this game's development, I'd honestly believe either. In terms of track selection, Midnight Race Club is exactly the same as Big Rigs. Though, thankfully, none of the tracks crash the game now, at least not 100% of the time. But they did have to lie about the total number of levels to do it. You see this city level right here? Yeah, well, it doesn't actually exist outside of this low-res screenshot. If you choose it, the game will load into the country road level instead. So both these buttons here do the exact same thing. I find it hilariously ironic that the branding on this game is trying so hard to evoke the underground street racing aesthetic that was so popular at the time, to the point where the title was designed to be confused with Midnight Club, but then the one level that actually takes place in a city at night literally does not exist in the game. That's still better than the cars, though. Not only can you not drive this Lamborghini, but selecting it will make the game crash every single time. Other than that, all the vehicles here are drivable, even if they do all handle identically, and use the exact same sound effects, and have the same phantom taillights following them, and are just generally shit. You may have also noticed that despite nearly every asset from Big Rigs being reused here, the Big Rig trucks themselves are absent. It turns out they are here after all, but unlike every other vehicle, you can't select them from the race menu. The only way to drive a big rig is to choose Quick Race on the menu, which puts you in a random track and vehicle. If the RNG gods are feeling generous, you'll end up in one of the big rig trucks. I discovered this by complete accident, and it took me by surprise, as I assumed the trucks had been cut out to differentiate this game from its predecessor. But nope, they're here, they're just hidden. Overall, Midnight Race Club Supercharged is just a slightly less buggy version of Big Rig's over-the-road racing, with more stuff bolted on, and most of the game's biggest problems left unresolved. And I 100% recommend you play it. It is so absurdly broken that it's absolutely worth a few hundred megabytes of disk space and 20 minutes of your time to check out. The biggest drawback compared to Big Rigs is that you can't be winner in this game. Unfortunately, the infamous "Your Winner" message has been changed to a generic "You Win," and I honestly think that's the main reason Midnight Race Club isn't better known. Your Winner has kinda become the focal point of Big Rig's over-the-road racing online. While researching for this video, I found multiple forums and even a mock religion based around this bit of broken English. With the new "You Win" message and various other fixes, Midnight Race Club just doesn't stand out as much as a hilariously broken game compared to its predecessor. Though it still has some of the worst production value I've ever seen in a commercially released product, and I recommend you check it out for that reason alone. The fact that it was somehow sold on store shelves a year after Big Rigs was already released is amazing to me. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Sorry it took so long to get it out. I originally found out about Midnight Race Club back at the beginning of September, but I did another video first, and I've been insanely busy since then, so thanks for waiting, those of you who did. Otherwise, give the video a like, and consider subscribing to this channel if you haven't already. I think that's all I got. Bye.